Hey, what up, guys? Welcome back. What a day. We are T-minus 24 hours, give or take, since the Minnesota Timberwolves beat the reigning champs Denver Nuggets at altitude in Game 7. One of the greatest, most exciting series I've ever watched as a longtime NBA fan. I feel like what made it special really put it over the top, though. I feel like some of the elements of the underlying storylines, potential storyline ramifications, there was just a lot at play here. By the end of the game, this was such an even matchup. Like 39% from the floor for Minnesota, 41% from the floor for Denver, 29% from three for Minnesota, 24% from three for Denver, but exact same number of offensive rebounds, exact same number of assists. Again, points off turnovers was only a +3 in Minnesota's side, even though Denver had 3 more turnovers. So it really wasn't that different. And of course, it ultimately ends with a 98-90 end score. The fact that Minnesota was down by so much, both at half and to start the third quarter, then ultimately ended up shooting basically the same from the floor, goes to show the eternal two-way street of Minnesota really ramping up its defense, Denver blowing open shots, blowing shots, etc. So diving into the numbers, I thought that was really interesting. Denver only scored 14 points in the third quarter, and there were at least 2 trips to the line for Jokic, and maybe he missed one, but going through the tape and making that compilation myself, I would say about 80-20, 80% Minnesota kind of swallowed Denver defensively. They just brick-walled them. Like, there was not much that Denver seemed able to do. There was a really good wraparound kind of skip pass that Jokic sent out to KCP. There was a kick out to Michael Porter Jr. at the top of the key that he usually rises and knocks down, but that was even kind of contested. Murray took a few, I'm not going to lie, like not really smart shots. Rudy Gobert fouling out. Karl-Anthony Towns got his 5th foul late, bringing in Naz Reid. This was just such a statement team win for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Smothering defense, leaning on a 22-year-old Batman who eventually was able to impact the game despite shooting 6 of 24 from the floor. Let me clue you in, it was an 8-point game. He finished +11 with 7 assists, 2 steals, and at least one of those steals coming in that pivotal 28-9 run in the third quarter that really flipped the entire script. Quickly, Jaden McDaniels, X factor of the team, in Anthony Edwards' own words, when he plays well, they probably win every time. I don't know how many times I've seen Jaden McDaniels dropping 20 points and the Wolves don't win. But he went 7-10 from the floor, 23 points, knocked down 3 out of 4 threes, 2 of them coming in that pivotal 28-9 run in the third quarter to turn everything around. He finishes with a game-high +12 on-off differential and got to the line 7 times. So can't say it enough about Jaden. I mean, obviously, one of the best defenders in the entire league, being able to rise up, have the confidence to, on some of those ant kickouts, not being afraid of the moment, again, being down by so much, even at that point, I just think is really impressive. But as well as getting himself to the free throw line, it just speaks volumes about this guy's, willingness to step up. Quickly on Ant, so not his best field goal percentage of his young career. 8 rebounds, 7 assists, though, 16 points. I mean, we're talking triple-double territory. My overall kind of assessment would be first half, basically a phantom. Really in that second half, particularly when Minnesota upped its defense to otherworldly level of defense in the third quarter. Once that happened, Ant got, again, like a couple steals, fast breaks. He was a big part of that, not just taking double teams, but really embracing them and meeting them almost at the summit to either evade them by splitting, the 2 guys or whatever to making the right reads, or just getting off the ball really early. I think that was, it's very obvious, but if you're getting double teamed every time you have the ball, get off the ball really early, and if you're not going to do that, attack quickly and forcefully, and then make the right read. If you can get out of the double team, which he was able to do a few times, and get to the rack, awesome. Otherwise, you have to make the easy play. And I just thought overall Ant did a tremendous job of that. His sidestep three to end the third quarter as well. I can't really articulate how magnificently important that shot, in my opinion, was to keeping that momentum going. You hear this all the time about ending quarters, ending halves. How you end is just so important for how you start the next period. And I mean, at that point, Minnesota was on a 25-9 run, down 4, and it was clear that Denver was like the boxer just waiting for the clock to run out. Like, we just got to reset. And had one last possession and just hit a fuck you 3, just because it was the most electric moment of the playoffs to me, was that specific shot, because it was how they capped off what, in my opinion, is a perfect quarter of Minnesota Timberwolves basketball. So positives, negatives for the game itself. Positives, in my opinion, great job shutting off Ant, basically, forcing him into tough shots. I mean, 6 for 24 is tough. And again, great players are going to find a way to still positively impact the game. Again, Ant finished 16-8-7, but as far as really limiting the dynamic scoring and forcing the other guys to make shots, generating enough outside looks to win the game. You could almost see Jokic's gears turning starting in that third quarter, when the defensive just energy and tenacity was through the roof for Minnesota, and he realized he needed to get other guys involved and somebody else going, because if it was going to be really him and Jamal kind of driving everything, they were going to lose. And he had a really good kick out again to KCP. He was even getting off ball pretty early, doing a good job of that, running in transition, etc. Hitting the outlet, hit-of-head passes, like Murray in transition in that third quarter, blew an open one. Minnesota heating up defensively, and the way they're built to basically stop his normal machine method. They had some pretty good looks, man. I will say, again, in the third at least, I think more rushed shots that weren't particularly that open than not. But that being said, again, overall, throughout the course of the game, quite a number of just open shots being missed. KCP goes 1 for 4. Michael Porter Jr. goes 1 for 6. Holiday doesn't hit any. Christian Brown, I mean, he's great, but again, he's a defensive guy with only 5 points. So the machine is very, very effective when it meets its minimum activation energy. Like, not even necessarily bench contribution, but the interplay between the bench contribution when MPJ isn't hitting, when KCP is hobbled on that rolled ankle or something. That is the little bit of threshold that you have to kind of scrape up, kind of the perfect pivot here to the negatives, because you can look at the box score and just be like, you're not going to win a game 7 against a lot of teams, frankly, with Jokic and Murray doing kind of everything. Both the role players and bench guys, no show. Reggie Jackson had a really tough turnover at the top of the fourth quarter as well. Their defense was worthy of winning the game. Like, they played well enough on defense to win this. There were ample opportunities to pad that deficit before the third quarter explosion. Couple within the explosion in the third quarter, also a few in the fourth, but Jokic took 10 threes. I might as well just stop talking at that point. Jamal goes 4 for 12 from 3. KCP goes 1 for 4. Michael Porter Jr. 1 for 6. CB goes over 1. Justin Holiday doesn't even attempt one. Jaden steps up and hits 3 out of 4 threes, 2 of them coming in the most important stretch of the game. Conley hit 1 during that stretch as well. He goes 3 for 5. That's the exact contribution I think Denver needed. You saw on Minnesota's team guys step up, and they were the road team and not the reigning champs. And it felt like the opposite of what you kind of would expect. That is one thing. And then the other is specifically with Minnesota and the way they are designed to disrupt the machine. Well, the machine really likes the rim. That's how it works. Jokic near the rim, getting offensive rebounds, usually a zone more than half the time. You have Aaron Gordon always lurking, or Christian Brown, whoever we want. They took the fewest number of threes in the regular season. I've said this on every single podcast. Minnesota is built to reflect that. And they pack the paint too. Obviously, they have a bunch of bigs, and they're roaming around. Rudy's roaming and all this other stuff. I say that to say that is also where Minnesota is the weakest defensively. It's crazy to say it that way, but you have Rudy Gobert, you have Karl-Anthony Towns, who's apparently the best Jokic defender on the planet. Granted, yeah, Jaden McDaniels swooping around doing shadowy stuff, and Conley. So think about it, especially when you have like a Michael Porter Jr. guy or whatever, like, the perimeter was kind of your best bet to begin with, in my opinion. You take that opportunity on the perimeter, and then you try it. Don't make tough shots, but you don't make open shots either. It's just really tough to win. This is more of a future-facing thing, but the initiation capabilities outside of Jokic and Jamal, pretty alarming down the stretch of that game. You saw KCP have to dribble into a deep mid two-point attempt, and it did not look great seeing him even put the ball on the floor. If somebody literally besides Jokic and Jamal did not have the ball and that person was dribbling, like, that was a win. Last but not least, guys were just super gassed. Malone's post-game, where he brought up super late run last year to win the title, and then this year having to play the starters all 82 games. All of the kind of emotional and psychological grappling with expectations and coming to form and what it's like to be a reigning champ and all of those things, and being targeted and having guys really want to beat you. He said it really gassed him straight up on the post game, and I respect him for it, man, because that's what it looked like. Again, when you're like not hitting open shots, you're getting beaten on rebounds in the fourth quarter, basically, against Rudy Gobert. Like, Jokic is getting beaten on the boards. During that stretch in the third quarter, Jamal, I think, got stripped twice. Like, concentration error after concentration error. I think that also plays into shot selection. So there are just a million ways where, in my opinion, it kind of did feel like this team was gassed, and this was an uncharacteristically, just kind of whiff. Overall takeaways. Number one, you guys are still the second best team in the league. We'll say cautionarily, at least the second best team in the NBA. You can cry misfortune about being matched up in the second round. That was going to go either way, depending on who won the Game 7, so okay. I don't think you can really overreact here. Like I said, it sucks to go out that way for sure, but even against your opposite team that was constructed to beat you, the way I would take it is we weren't ready for the moment of what it would take being the reigning champs and being hunted versus being the hunter. And we came up short, but that's not, one, that's not unnatural, but two, that might be good. I'm serious. I think you learn a lot about each other. You learn a lot about the game and the greats, and you foster and cultivate that kind of respect and understanding and, again, experience to be able to turn around and really just galvanize each other as a team to prevent what happened in Game 7 again, particularly in a league with just nonstop skyrocketing talent. This is a really, really tough loss, but it kind of reminds me of 2016. You had the golden age, golden empire, Golden State Warriors. Obviously, 2015 won the title, running it back, in 16, and they lose the heartbreaking, game to LeBron, the most incredible title ever won in history. And blowing a 3-1 lead, that is just really tough. But you know what happened? Yes, they got Kevin Durant, for sure. They just ran the league after that, man. And blame it on Draymond, blame it on whatever you want. I just think that these are the kind of moments where, you grow together. Like, yeah, even in that 2016 title, the league hadn't caught up to the Warriors yet, clearly. they didn't know how to defend him or really meaningfully stop them. They were just up against minimum the second best player to ever play the sport. That's what happened. Same with Denver here. They have their own brand of basketball that has proven to be otherworldly effective the previous season, come into the next one, and again, this is for all intents and purposes, this was kind of the finals. If you're Denver, yeah, everybody agrees they're built to beat you. Okay, well then they're the only thing really in your way. And you came up short in a game 7, just like the Warriors. I just still think even without getting KD in that at that point in time, that team grew so much together from that experience. Can't overreact. I think we'll hear and postulate a lot more about specific upgrades and where for Denver, but I think it's painfully obvious their bench scoring needs to be upgraded. But, it's one of those things where in my mind, the whole never played with an all-star, never played with an all-NBA guy, yada, yada. Okay, awesome. I'm not a trade person. I don't understand salary. I should. But I feel like now is when you kind of cash that in, okay? It's like, yeah, we don't have another guy making 40 mil, so why don't we get I don't know, basically for me, it's like a Ben Mathurin type. That would be really, really smart. I feel like their starting unit is still just, again, probably the second best team in the entire league, so can't overreact. I really, really think it's like, if you can get a Ben Mathurin or somebody to cook off the bench, basically, you would have been fine. Last overall takeaway is Aaron Gordon. I just want to give him love. Outstanding player, but more importantly, he seems to be an outstanding teammate. I'm really glad he just had a breakout game, being able to showcase his incredible skill set, being that just gnarly of a Swiss Army knife. Giving all the love to Yoke for teaching him how to be selfless and just owning it and demonstrating it in such a genuine, authentic way. I don't know. It's just really great. So I don't know. I'm going to remember that, specifically that game, I think, just because it was so cool seeing him basically be a mini Jokic, and then with Jokic on the floor while guarding the team's best player. It was just a gnarly game. So anyway, thank you guys so much, and until next time.